and welcome back to God's Golden Acres. I'm Kim and I'm on my way to get a small bowl of apples off the neighbor's apple tree. And I wanted to talk about something really quickly because most homesteaders consider themselves prepared, if not preppers. And one thing, especially when you're getting started, shortening your supply chain is being prepared. And I'll explain what I mean by that here as I'm in between picking apples and show you guys some things inside. But we now go to the Amish for a lot of things. The area we've moved into, that's a resource that we have. So our butter, which I will show you in a little bit, comes from our neighbors, which are within walking distance. It'd be a little bit of a far walk, but you could definitely do it like once a week. Easy peasy once a week, if not more often than that. And our eggs I've also been buying from that neighbor for our eggs. They're about $2.50 a dozen for farm fresh eggs. I actually found out I can go to the feed store, also Amish owned, just a little bit further up, and they also have eggs a little bit cheaper, but of course they own the feed. So the Amish do buy from each other, and they don't necessarily give each other a huge discount, although I'm sure, you know, their own community pays a different price than I do, which is fine. You know, the senior discount exists. I don't care if a religious discount exists. That I'm not offended by. Jump the fence real quick. So it doesn't actually have to be literally the shortest supply chain, right? Whether that's your backyard or your next door neighbor. But your supply chain being shorter than especially Wisconsin cheese or California milk, being way shorter, will help you be prepared in a crash, in an economic thing, in just shortages, in just also blizzards. Like, I can walk to my neighbors in the snow with snowshoes and get some butter if they have it. So I don't necessarily need to feel like I have to rush out and get a dairy cow. I don't need to rush out and get chickens. Because we were going to get chickens this year and we delayed it. And part of that decision to delay was that we can run up to the neighbors. Just a few apples on this old apple tree. Although, I'm going to have to run to our other neighbors and get more. Their apple tree is like overflowing. This little bowl of apples, gonna make some apple butter. And that's an old tree. It might not last much longer. Our pear tree in the back is the same way. It had 7 blossoms this year, and of course none of those turned into anything, so it is what it is. But there's no shame in gleaning off other people. It's a biblical term about, hi dog, allowing unfortunate newbies, beginners, the poor, the widowed, the orphaned, to glean or clean up after the harvest. And getting some apples off this old tree is kind of doing that. And now we're not necessarily poor, we're just not to the place where we can do it all ourselves yet, right? So gleaning is something we do. That way we can get to buying our own apple trees. And that tree is pretty well ignored. The grapevines over there stopped producing, unfortunately, and it is what it is. But it does help and get you started with putting some food back. You know, it's the same idea of going to the farmer's market and buying your tomatoes to practice canning. That way you at least know how to do it. Because if you have the skill or the relationship, it is a form of preparation. All right, so we're inside, and I've got some homemade butter to show you. It's about the same price as the store, so it's not more expensive, which is awesome. And I didn't make it, but the resource to get it is just down the road, and it is through relationship, both as a customer and as a neighbor, that is possible for me to get if things were to get bad, right? We would trade, I might, or my husband might work on fences or help keep up a garden, or even just, help keep house, right? Because even for our neighbors, because they use engines, even though they're Amish, they use a little bit of power for wells, and then they use air compressors for tools. So even though they'll have a smaller adjustment than me, they're still going to have a huge adjustment to a economic crisis situation. But for the most part, I'm not always preparing for doomsday, right? Mostly I'm preparing for losing a power for a week in the winter. I've been there, done that as a kid. It happens all the time. We lost power for 2 weeks in the summer one year. That wasn't too bad. My grandma had power, so we just brought all the food over there to keep it in the freezer. And then, what other, if you have to leave, you can't carry all this with you anyway. But you can carry some of it. You can take a pat of butter, and the butter can be at room temperature for a little while if you're in, say, tornado or hurricane or earthquake or mudslides, wildfires, and you have to leave. Like, you can take some butter, some canned food, some emergency food with you. Granted, this is about keeping the supply chain short, but if I lose my house in, say, a tornado, restocking for me is going to my neighbors. Instead of, do I have a car? Maybe not. Do I have electricity? Probably not. My neighbors are willing to help to an extent. Once again, Amish, they help their families, their church, and then the community outside of that. And because the church is their community. Which, granted, once again, we do the same thing. Family first, friends first, church first, and then the wider community. I'm not offended by that, and I'm never going to be offended by that. You're not gonna come on here bashing people. I've had not so much of that on my channel particular, but I've seen it in other like homesteading groups where it's like, don't trust the Amish. If they're selling a horse, it's got problems. Well, yeah, when I sell my cow that's 10 years old and that's not breeding well anymore, it's got problems, right? That stuff irks me beyond, like, of course, if you're selling a single animal, it's probably something doesn't fit with your house, doesn't produce enough milk, isn't getting fat enough, quick enough. There's a reason that it's being done. But we've forged these relationships, and we have moved to a community where we can have very, very short supply chains, because I keep going off on a tangent. And it's really nice. I have gone right on last year, don't have it this year, and we didn't get very many grapes last year either, but there's a grapevine on our property line, so technically half is ours and half is the Amish neighbors. They didn't care. They let us have them all. I mean, granted, they know their grandparents planted those grapevines, I'm sure, so they know how old they are and how it's kind of competitive, but they don't care. Those trees out on the property line and out on just beyond the property line, they're not maintaining those. And so they're letting us use them. And it's awesome. They make butter. I haven't made butter since second grade. It's awesome. I get my eggs from there, and I just swing in when they're open 6 days a week. And instead of having to go out of my way from where I'm going, because no matter where we go by their store, I just swing in. And it's right there. I can walk. It's very close if needed. So shortening your supply chain is definitely prepping. It doesn't matter that you're not doing it all yourself, because even in an economic collapse, they have the supply there of cows to make that much butter. It's gonna have to go somewhere. Now there's gonna be more competition, but because I've been a loyal customer for about 6 months now, I would say is how long I've been buying from them. As far as eggs and butter, I've been doing seasonings since we moved in. That puts me higher on the list. I'm also a neighbor, so that puts me higher on the list. We're also friendly, and we see each other a lot. So we have that relationship there. I don't know if you would call it a friendship, but it is friendly. So that's a way we're getting started. We would like to get to where we could have those other homesteading animals. It's just not possible right now. My husband has to work full time. If you are new here, he is a insulin dependent diabetic, so we have to have health insurance. We can't jump into some of these things as quickly because we have to have them set up perfectly that I can take care of it either by myself or it can be done in the evenings by Andrew, because we have a need that most people don't, and it's a different type of need we have to prep around and prepare around. And there's nothing wrong with that. You'll have different needs too. You have eczema, seasonal allergies, all kinds of different little health things. You got a bum knee, you broke your toe, and you have to do things differently. Even if it's for a short while, you have to prep around those things. So we can't just jump into things, and many of you can't either. You live in an HOA, you just bought your property and you have to get fencing in, and fencing is expensive. You want a certain type of fencing so it lasts a long time, so you're trying to invest correctly so you're not spending money on top of money replacing it every year. It's all reasonable. And if you're gonna spend money on your fence and you want it to be good quality fencing and you have to wait and save for that, why not look into these other ways of stocking your fridge and your pantry? That is contacting local farmers. Certain areas are better than others. I hear a lot of great things about Virginia. We're in Missouri, and you gotta know your area, but contact your local farmers and see what they have, because you can find quite a few things on the farm. And your farmers markets are hit and miss. Tend to like the smaller ones. That's where you get the good deals. And figure out who is actually going to help you the most, and who you can form friendships and community with, because that's all of what it's about, right? Because then when something happens, it's like, I have pumpkins, I have ground beef, I have butter, I have eggs, and these 4 families can get together and have a decent little meal. And you're focusing on one thing, which makes it more efficient. So thanks for being with us. I hope you follow along and see more of our content. If you like this, hit that like button and subscribe. I will be praying for you, and God bless.